Alright, so for our first game we are up against Primite Dark Magician. They are using some of the Shining Sarcophagus stuff for more Dark Magician names, as well as the new fusion monster, but our hand's looking really good, so let's see how this goes. So, they start with the Shining Sarcophagus. I assumed it was Shining Sarc, but they grabbed Dark Magician. Basically, they're just using the Sarc engine in a Dark Magician deck. And then, same thing, Primite is doing Primite stuff. So they get a Drill Beam online. They've got a couple of spells that are a nuisance in the grind game. They summon a couple of bodies, Cross Sheep. One card can go into the new Dark Magician of Destruction and search the Magician's Salvation, which can set the Eternal Soul. So this is pretty much all they have. They've got Eternal Soul for a body, they've got the Primite Drill Beam for one good disruption, don't get me wrong, it's one very good disruption, and they've got the Tower of Blackluster Soldier. So we luckily do have one of our going second cards, which forces out the Drill Beam, otherwise it's going to get destroyed, and they have no other real disruption. So this just ain't gonna be enough against us, because all they have at this point is a couple of decent sized bodies, and we are the deck that makes giant bodies. So we now have a 12,000 King of the Skull Servants, swing at their 2800 Dark Magician of Destruction, and the game is over. You cannot rely on one disruption against our deck, even if it is one of the best disruptions in the game. Alright, so for our next game we are going up against, as far as I could tell, pure Canine. So let's get started, because we have to get through their turn first, every time anyways. So yeah, they don't do a whole lot, they just go into Azuna, they set up the Graveyard Recursion, immediately use it when we activate Shiren, we mill a bunch of stuff, and they're gonna make Hound, which I'm not sure is correct here. I assume they're just hoping it gets bigger than anything we have, because Hound does gain 500 attack for every monster effect that resolves, but funny enough, we make it smaller off of our White Princess, and then our stuff just gets so much bigger than him anyways. So, here's their mistake. They, for all intents and purposes, should have 100% won this game. They had a called by on the field. They sat on the called by until we were trying to go to battle, and then they get rid of the White Lord. So that is one of the major advantages of the Skull Servant deck, is no one knows what the heck it does. If they had called by our King of the Skull Servants when we went to revive it from the graveyard, that turns off the attack bonus of both of our guys. We just can't do anything because King of the Skull Servant's the only card that matters. But they hit White Lord, which is completely useless here. Anyways, we swing for 12,000 and they die. So, let that be a lesson to you. Know your enemy. So I'm going to be honest with you up front. This is not the best game you will see in this video, but it's really funny, so I wanted to show it to you. So we are up against Trickstar here, and they have new support. So Trickstar's not like a complete joke anymore. They can put up some stuff, but here they use card destruction on us, sending both a White Prince and White Baking to the graveyard, which allows us to fill 10 cards in our graveyard before we ever even touch our turn. They are already so incredibly screwed. So they're going to go through their whole combo. They get Dramatis. So they've got, you know, they're tough to beat in combat for most decks. That is a pretty important asterisk. And they've got a couple of disruptions. But we have 7 cards in hand and a full graveyard already. So all we have to do is blow up their back row. They have like 1 disruption coming from a monster, and we can just go off like crazy. I believe we get actually all 3 King of the Skull Servants on the field this game, just for funsies, which is pretty great. Oh no, just 2 here. That's fine. So 13,000 attack beaters get over Trickstar's basically anything they can do in 1 hit, which means that none of their Trickstar burns you after battle occurs, so we had to make sure we killed them in 1 hit, or we probably would have died to getting burnt for 13,000, but thankfully, you know, there's very few things in the game that won't get over with lethal. Bonus game. We're going first this time because I wanted to show off what you can do post sideboard with the Lordly Load stuff. It's not going to be super impressive, but we'll see what we can do. So we start with the Skull Servant stuff because we actually don't mind the Skull Servant stuff getting interrupted here if they have any hand traps, because it doesn't put disruptions on our field and we have to ride out at least one turn. They don't do anything, so we just make a couple of giant guys on our field, which is pretty cool, and then we start doing the Primite stuff. So we grab Drill Beam, which is a disruption, and we summon Skull Servant himself so that we can use the Drill Beam. So we've got two 10,000 attack bodies that promptly get super polyed away. Not looking too great, but we do have Drill Beams still, and if we can just make it back to our turn, we can bring those Skull Servants back, but they're playing a White Force, that's brutal. We hit the Diabell Star, hoping that that is the only thing they have to bridge into anything else, and luckily we were correct. So we do get a second turn, and that will most likely spell victory for us. They do some Azamina stuff that doesn't end up really mattering, and we just start bringing back those kings. So we get a free card off of Vampire Sucker by bringing King back. We discard the White Princess so that the opponent's monsters are all itty-bitty tiny. And then we bring back all three kingdoms with the Skull Servant, because we do not know what their back row is, and we assume that it can probably take care of one, maybe even two of them. It does not appear to be anything. We swing, and we have, what, 27,000 attack overkill on the field, which is pretty fun. Cool.